Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical and episode 4 of the MK18 build series, and the upper is very, very close to being done. So the whole reason that I do these build series is to motivate and inspire you guys to build your own rifles or your own handguns, whatever it is that you're into, whatever role that you need to fill. What I have found is that it is more fun, more satisfying to put it together yourself. I have bought factory rifles and then changed things out on them and made them what I want them to be. But generally you spend more money doing that because you pay for all the original parts and then you pay for new parts. So you actually save money. I know it seems a little weird, but you save money by building it yourself and you get exactly what you want. They don't call it tactical Legos for no reason. So if you're into building, if you want to get some inspiration, make sure you're subscribed. And episode 4 of the MK18. Really quick, before we get started, we're going to do a little recap for those of you who might be joining right in this episode. So I like to do these build series. Like I said, motivate and inspire, right? Plus, I just enjoy building rifles, and it's fun to me. The last build series was this 14.5 inch, my dream rifle build. Before that, I did this 300 Blackout. I did an AR-9, built out this Gucci Glock on a budget, the PSA Dagger build. Well, this is the MK18. I've always wanted a MK18. So I started out with the stripped Daniel Defense MK18 upper, which comes with their 10.3 inch cold hammer forged barrel, the Riz 2 quad rail, and the stripped upper receiver, basically. Although, I'm not sure I call it stripped. I mean, it comes with your forward assist and your dust cover and all that already installed. But they call it stripped because it doesn't come with a charging handle or a bolt carrier group. So, after that, of course, we started adding parts. We added the muzzle device here, which is ASR compatible. It's a 3-prong flash hider, so that I could run this suppressed with my Otter Creek Labs Polonium K. I also, originally it came with these rail covers. Well, you know, quad rail kind of feels like a cheese grater. Those rail covers were pretty thick, so I got the Magpul rail ladders here, and they're great because you can cut them and use them however you wanted. So I cut a section out to add the emissary handbrake here, and that section added on this side to cover the whole side. Of course, there's a piece missing where the light is, and we'll get to the light here shortly. But, of course, Radian Raptor charging handle, OD green. I've got in here, this is a Microbest chrome bolt carrier group. I've got an EoTech EXPS 2 on a Unity riser. And I think that is where we left off last week. And so we're going to get into what we've added this week. So you guys might remember that I was a little bit unsure of what I was going to do as far as the sighting system. Not that I was unsure about the EoTech or the Unity riser, but part of the reason that I was using the riser, for one reason, I just really like to have more of a heads up, posture when I'm shooting. To me, it's more comfortable to shoot that way. But also part of the reason was that I was going to have this set at the 2.26 inch optical center height to be able to run my G33 magnifier with the flip to center mount. Well, I have scrapped that idea, and as you can see, I changed out the iron sights. These originally, I had the SIG flip up, iron sights on it, some that I had sitting in a drawer that has been on multiple other builds. Well, I scrapped those as well. So before we get into what we've added this week and why, I'd like to have a very quick word from our channel partner. If you'd like to help support Sawtooth Tactical, the very best way to do that is to click the first link in the description. That link is aura.com/sawtooth-tactical. If you use my link, you get a 2-week free trial. And you can quit anytime, but you probably want to stick with it as I have. What has Aura done for me? Well, I don't get any spam calls anymore. I don't get spam emails. I don't get calls from scammers. What they do is they find all the data brokers that have your information online. They submit opt-out requests on your behalf so that you don't get scammers and spam calls anymore. But they do a lot of other things too. They have a VPN, which just helps to protect your privacy. They've got a ton of stuff, and it all comes in at a very low price. If you stick with it after that 2 weeks, it is only $12 a month. I think Aura is pretty cool because they sponsor gun-related channels, which not a lot of sponsors are willing to do that. And it really helps channels like mine be able to produce this kind of content. YouTube doesn't really like to monetize gun-related videos anymore. And so sponsors like Aura make things like Mark 18 builds possible. So check it out. It's definitely worth trying it out for 2 weeks. Like I said, you're probably going to want to stick with it. I don't have to worry about scammers anymore. I don't have to worry about spam calls, spam emails. And that's been really nice. I use my phone for work, and so I have to answer calls that I don't recognize all the time. And none of them are scammers anymore. And I really like that. So again, check it out. First link in the description, aura.com/sawtooth-tactical. I can almost guarantee that you're going to love it. Check it out. With that, we got to where we are now. And what did we add this week? Well, let's first talk about these iron sights because we were already on that topic. I had those flip-up iron sights on it. And if you guys remember from last week, with the back, the rear iron sight, I couldn't fold down the magnifier. And so I had a choice to make, magnifier or backup iron sights. And the more I thought about it, I want this Mark 18 to kind of be an end of the world gun. Something where, if society collapsed, a zombie apocalypse, whatever highly unlikely thing were to happen, I'd like this to maybe be my go-to rifle between this one and the 14.5 inch here. And while I don't put backup iron sights on every gun like I used to, because to be perfectly honest, I've never had an optic fail and had a need for backup iron sights, and so I've only ever used them just for zeroing them, and then they basically sit folded down on every gun forever after that, And so they haven't been a priority on my last few builds. But I figured if this is going to be that end of the world go-to gun, well, I should probably have some backup iron sights. And I can do that with this one because the EoTech EXPS model has a quick detach lever on it. EoTechs are known for not having the best battery life, especially when compared to red dot sights that have like 50,000 hours of battery life. EoTechs don't have that. Now the newer EoTechs, the battery life is much better than it used to be. And as long as you pay attention to it, you probably have nothing to worry about. It starts blinking when your battery gets low. Change it out. It takes very standard CR123 batteries. But say it was the end of the world and you couldn't find CR123s, or just for some reason your EoTech wasn't working. Well, I can quick detach the EoTech, and then I've got these Daniel Defense fixed iron sights. Now, why did I go with the Daniel Defense fixed iron sights? For one, I've been seeing them at my local gun shop for a long time. They've been sitting on the shelf there, one set of them in this mil-spec brown color. They've also got a set in black. Well, I specifically got the Mark 18 with the mil-spec brown Riz 2 quad rail. I like that color. Kind of going for a 50 shades of FDE on this build. As you can see, FDE, 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 brown. You get the point, right? Well, I started looking online, and I can't find these brown Daniel Defense iron sights anywhere. And so I figured I should better go snag them up before someone else does. And so I did. And I'm glad that I did. Now, these are not cheap iron sights by any means, and for something that I'll probably never have to use, it was a decision that I had to make. But I do think that it kind of completes the look of the Mark 18. I like the fixed iron sights. They will not co-witness through this optic on the riser, and that is perfectly fine with me. The point isn't to co-witness the iron sights, because honestly, I would rather have my main optic sight picture perfectly clear, and then just have these as what they are, backup iron sights. If the optic fails for any reason, QD, I can rip it off and I've still got a good sighting system. And a sighting system that I don't have to also flip up after ripping the optic off. So takes one step out of the equation. If I did have to use them quickly, they'll be ready to go. And so once I get a lower on this, I will zero them before I zero the EoTech, and then they will be the backup iron sights that they're meant to be. And I just think that they look really good. I'm glad that I was able to find them in that mil-spec brown because they don't really seem to be available anywhere else in that color. Now, the other big thing that you probably noticed this week is the light. And of course, I went big on the light again, spent a bunch of money, but I also saved some money. So I like Modlite. I've used Modlite on both of my last two builds. This is an 18650 PLH V2 and an 18350 PLH V2 on the 300 blackout shorty there. Well, this is an 18650 OKW. Now, the PLH V2 versus the OKW has to do with the head. The PLH V2 has higher lumens overall, but it's a little bit more of a flood and less candela, less of a focused beam. The OKW is more of that focused beam. And I know people are going to say, why would you put the OKW on a 10.3 inch? This should be a PLH V2 and this should be an OKW. And you're right. But you know what? I wanted to try out the OKW and I'm very impressed with it. I've taken it outside at night and you can light up things very far away with this. And it still has enough spill that is totally usable around my house in CQB type operations if I need it to be. I'm very happy with it. Now, where did I save money? Because a Modlite setup like this is over 500 bucks. That's a lot of money to spend on a light. But then again, you know, at this point in my building career, I would rather not skimp on things and I'd rather have the actual parts that I want rather than being disappointed in the decisions that I've made and have to replace things down the road, spending even more money. And so I did go with Modlite again because I know it and I like it. And I think it looks really, really good, especially their tan FDE. And over the 4th of July, they had a blem sale. Now, this is a little piece of advice from my own experience and what I've learned. If you ever find parts that you want, the part that you know that you want, and they have it available as a blem, buy it. I've bought a bunch of blem stuff over time and I've never found a blemish on any of them. This light looks as perfect as any of my other mod lights, but it was $100 cheaper because it's a blem. The only difference that I found in it is that it came in a Ziploc bag rather than a Modlite cardboard box that I'll never use again anyway. So blem is definitely the way to go. Saved $100 on the light. So then I used the Surefire UE tail cap. Now the UE is, it's a Surefire tail cap, so you can use their plugs and their whole system there. But it's not the one with the extra button like the DS00. The UE is just for a switch plug. And then I used the Modlite mod button light and the mod button light. I really like this mod button. I use this on both these last two builds too. And part of what I like to do when setting up my rifles is kind of make all the controls feel the same. So that no matter which one I grab, no matter which one I'm using, my hands automatically know what to do, where to go, depending on what I'm trying to do. And so I set the switch up in the same location with my hand stop as I have it on both of these. On this one, I really like this mod button light. I love this light setup. I've got it on an Arisaka mount. Now, I've used a bunch of Arisaka mounts in the past. I've got a couple lights on their offset M-LOK mount. This one's their inline M-LOK mount because I've got the offset M-LOK slots on that Geisley rail. And this is their offset Picatinny mount. So you can see that it kind of curves over and sets the light in that void in your rail there, which is exactly where I like to have it. I like to put the light on this side so it's out of my peripheral vision, and then use a switch at the 12 o'clock position for my thumb. That's what works for me. Do whatever works best for you though. So where do we go from here? The upper is pretty much done. I've got one more part for it that came in today, and so I didn't have time to install it before filming this video. And my lower should be here tomorrow, and I've already got tons of parts that have come in for the lower, all the good stuff, things that you guys probably already know that I'm going to use, because some of them are things that I use on every build, but I will explain why I'm using each of those parts as I get them into the build. Next week, I should have this on a lower. Now, the lower is going to be a pistol at first with a SBA3 pistol brace. It's not going to stay that way, don't worry. I will SBR it, but that's probably the last thing I'm going to do. Once I get the whole thing put together, I'll be able to run it with that brace, make sure the buffer's tuned right, make sure the thing runs and does what it's supposed to do. And then I'll SBR it and, add the stock that I like. So we'll be put together as a pistol first. I could put this on this, SBR lower right now and go out and shoot it. And maybe I will. But since the lower is coming in, I think maybe I'll just wait and use it on the lower that is meant for this build. Pretty excited that that's supposed to be here tomorrow. We'll see if that's the case, but I believe it should be in next week's episode. And then I just got to find out which lower parts I still need to get, because it is a stripped lower, but it's a stripped ambi lower. When I got my stripped ADM lower, some of those parts are proprietary and they were already installed. So I've waited to get my lower parts kit yet, but I do have more lower parts coming already on the way. And so we will be able to get that lower put together pretty quickly, and we will have a completed Mark 18 pistol very soon, and then eventually an SBR. If you guys have been enjoying this video, please give me a like. If you've been enjoying this series, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any further episodes. And if you haven't seen the other episodes, check out weeks 1, 2, and 3. Where we built this up and got it to the point that it's at now, because this looks very much like a classic Mark 18 upper now, but with the style and the parts that I have found that I enjoy, that work well for me, that are comfortable, and that I like. And that's kind of the whole point of building tactical Legos. You can literally make these things whatever you want, and that's kind of the beauty of the AR-15. So from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.